Hello world, Dano here, stacking paper as always. Today, finally, we are on part 2 of our Will of the Many read-along. I know I've been super sluggish with this book. I know I'm reading other things and busy with life and shit, but I'm going to try and actually blitz through the rest of this book as quickly as possible because it has actually gotten so interesting. And now I have a little more time to actually do it, so expect a part 3 soon. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So we finally have Viz at Silivagus. He meets Viridius, and immediately Viridius is super charming. He seems like a really cool, straightforward character, but I'm already extremely suspicious, and those suspicions are well founded, as we'll find out later. But he kind of turns up the charm. He shows him around, introduces him to Calidus, who we don't know at the time how important this character is, but he's just a 7th, right? So Viz has to work his way up through the ranks, 76543. Can't fucking count, apparently. And you start off at 7, and he shows into his dorm, and the 7s, they have everyone just sleeps in one big room essentially, and as you move up you start getting more freedom, and you also get better lodgings, right? So Viridius is showing him around, introduces him to Calidus. He's like, Calidus, show him to the mess hall and, just give him a little briefing. Goes to the mess hall. Immediately, one of the kids from the class above him it starts gunning it for Calidus and is about to fuck him up. Viz steps in and fucks this kid up. Idhin. Either way. This literally almost gets Viz expelled immediately, which is crazy because you, as a lower rank, you can't, attack or talk bad about or really challenge in any way any of the kids that are higher ranked than you, because they're trying to use this school is pretty much just a microcosm of Catenian society, and you see that the more it goes through, but this is an early establishment of that. So yeah, Viz almost gets fucking kicked out. He gets off with a slap on the wrist. Finds out that one of the kids that was trying to get him kicked out, Iro, he's a third. Third is the highest rank. So this Iro guy clearly already hates Viz, and we don't know why. But he gets off with kind of a slap on the wrist. He has to do stable duty, which doesn't sound like much, but it also means that he doesn't get to socialize with any of the other kids, because he has to skip out on eating with everyone essentially, which means no socializing, which is huge. But either way, so he's doing this stable duty. Amisa, one of the girls from 3rd, shows up to help him every night. A little suspicious, and this is the thing, I don't trust anybody because I know how political and intrigue this story is, and it only continues to prove that that's the case as we go forward. He blitzes through 7th. The classes are so easy. Within a chapter, he's already upgraded to 6th. But all the 6th shun him, including Idhin, who is the kid that tried to fuck up Calidus at the beginning. So he just decides, fuck it, I'm just gonna hang out with Calidus anyway, because he realizes that Calidus is in 7th, but he's actually super smart. Viz admits later that Calidus is actually way smarter than him, so there's really no reason he should be in 7th, but he's keeping himself there for a reason that we'll explain later. But he does realize that there's a real problem here with the preceptor of 6th, Dultatus. This guy's a fucking asshole, and he's gonna stop Viz from advancing in any way, because turns out they have to do labyrinth runs. So every class runs the labyrinth, but the higher up you go, the more often they make you do it. And instead of doing it by yourself, you actually do it in a partners. So his partner is Idhin, of course, the one guy that he didn't want to be with. But he finds out that Idhin speaks Cimmerian, which is, I don't know if it's a dead language, but it was a place that was taken over, right? Viz also speaks Cimmerian because his mother did. So once he finds out that he speaks that way, you're allowed to speak in code and direct each other. So they just start speaking Cimmerian. They make it through the maze on their first try. But Dultatis says, no, you guys were cheating. You know, this guy's a fucking asshole, right? Afterwards, he has this wholesome conversation with Calidus where Calidus essentially explains that he is the son of a Tertius, like the third rank up. He's like the head of the governance pyramid. And he had just passed a law that I guess wasn't very popular. And so all the other senators didn't like him. And so that's why Aiden attacked him. I really love how this island is not, like, these kids are not separated from the political goings-on of the mainland. Like, it's directly tied to it. And things that happen out there will reflect what happens in the school. I really love that attention to detail. That's a super high point in regard of this story. But Calidus kind of crunches some numbers because he has access to the like sensor data. I kind of forget like what they explain, but essentially like there's enough will to go around, but you know the higher ups are hogging all of it, which you know makes sense. Hierarchical society. Anyways. So Viz realizes that Dultatis is going to keep him in 6, and there's really nothing he can do to get past it. And it's literally because Viridius actually kind of explains to him that both Nequius and Dultatis, who are 2 preceptors, Nequius is the preceptor for 3rd, they were like shoo-ins to be leaders of the academy when Viridius and Keror were their students. But after Keror's suicide, they got demoted, and then Viridius later on becomes the Principalis. Because Viridius is actually like pretty young. He's not that much older than Viz. Like he's significantly older, but he's like not that much. How do I even explain this? He's slightly younger than Osulzier. But compared to the other preceptors, he's very young. So Nequius and Dultatis, they kind of have a bone to pick with Viz just because he's a Telemus, even though he had nothing to do with that situation. So Viz realizes, fuck it, I need to try to investigate these ruins, because if I go back to the mainland and I'm still in 6, this guy's gonna just straight send me to a sapper, which is like very true. And we do see this a lot in part 2, where like Viz is just getting thrown around by people. He's being used by everybody, and it just doesn't get easier for him. So he manages to sneak out and get into these ruins, and they're trippy as hell. We got these fucking bodies with people with their eyes gouged out, being stabbed by obsidian that is somehow powering not a machine, but it's even hard to explain. Like all the ruins light up, and they kind of, there's these 3 like 3D printed looking holograms of Solivagus, but in kind of 3 different modes. One of them is all destroyed, one of it is nicer looking. It almost looks like different time periods, potentially parallel universes. Who fucking knows? It's weird as hell. But I do love how Viz is like timing it in his head. He manages to get out of the ruins before Viridius and another guy show up to check it out, because as he predicted, there's an alarm system on the ruins. So as soon as he walks in, he's immediately counting down in his head. He dips back to the school, but not before like fucking his hand up on a spike, like blood everywhere. So the next day he has to disguise it by running into a kid and like just being super clumsy. And even when he goes to the infirmary, the medic is like, this is interesting because the principal told me to look out for any strange injuries. So clearly they're looking for him, right? But he disguises it really well. But he can't hold it in, so he decides to open up to Aiden, of all people, about what he saw at the ruins. And because he needs to tell somebody, and he actually trusts Aiden now. I love that their relationship development is actually brilliant. And then, you know, they start talking in Cimmerian to each other, making fun of Dultatis to his face. It's really, really good. But Aiden is like, listen, like, I guess thanks for telling me, but also you kind of just put me in danger by telling me all this shit, so you owe me now. So he decides he's going to teach him common. He's going to, like, tutor him every night, which is super wholesome. And then so now we get the first break. Viz has to go meet up with old Caesar and essentially tell him what he's learned about the ruins. Because once they get off the transvect, like, he's immediately getting mobbed by people because everyone knows he's, Catenicus, that's what they call him, the hero of the Nomachia. He also learns why Iroh hates him, because some of the fourths chat him up, the fourth and the third, because it's interesting. Once they leave the academy, they're all equals again, So when they're on the transvect and they're talking to him, he's like, "Oh, you guys are like way higher ranked than me," and they just explain, "Hey, listen, once we're off the island, we're back to being normal people again. But once we're on the island, you got to respect the hierarchy." So he learns why Iroh hates him, because Iroh's sister was at the Nomachia and she fucking died. And it's like, how is that Viz's fault? But I guess in his mind, it's like, why did you wait so long? But anyways, we'll get there. Alcuzar definitely pissed off that Viz is still in 6, and he tries to make the excuse. He's like, "Listen, Dultatus hates us. He won't let me advance." And Alcuzar says, "What the fuck did you think was going to happen? I told you people don't like our family. That's an obstacle. Like, no excuses. Figure it out." But then once he starts telling him about the ruins, then Alcuzar is like, "Okay, all right, you're useful, I guess." And then Viz has a plan on how to investigate the other ruins, the far side ruins. And he gets Alcuzar to make him like a skyhook. It's actually super cool. This is one of my favorite scenes. But anyways, before that though, holy crap! So Viz finally gets to meet Alcuzar's wife, because she's just been aloof. Like, she's talked about. They've explained she's like a high-level will user. She's like running around. She's always busy, right? But fucking, she comes around the corner, and it's fucking Sadosha, the now leader of the Ongius. Honestly, this was such a mind blow when this was first revealed. Honestly, I was absolutely shook. And she's super like ditzy. She's clearly playing a character. Viz keeps it together though, and they manage to kind of walk off alone. And Viz is like, "How the fuck are you doing this? Like, this is crazy." She's just ingratiated herself essentially. And it also seems like she kind of doesn't hate Alcuzar either, even though she's very like everyone's the enemy type shit. Like, she doesn't even think regular citizens are innocent, whereas that's where like the big difference between her and Viz. But yeah, she explained that the rest of the Ongius really think that he killed I totally am blanking on his name now, but either Esteban, that's his name. And he explains to her like, "No, Esteban like forced me to do it." And whether she believes him or not is relevant. She's like, "I'm still gonna use you, like, you're clearly useful." She's super pragmatic. We also get to meet Alcuzar's parents, and they are really good characters. They're super human. Viz actually clearly likes them because like they're just in grief still about their son's death, and they even try to talk Alcuzar and Lanischia down. Like, you can tell they have like even Lanischia, they have a tight relationship with her because she was clearly in love with Karor, right? So it's cool that we get to see him meeting with Sadosha coinciding with how Viz actually likes his parents, because like you see these two completely diametric worldviews. But anyways, Alcuzar makes this will gauntlet for him, and it's actually so fucking sick. So there's a transvect that's constantly going back and forth between the island and Caten, so that kids can kind of just come back whenever they want. And so Viz gets on this transvect, and he throws the bracer in the back of the transvect, and then like literally pops out on the bottom, so it's kind of like it's magnetized to him, so he's suction cupped to the bottom of the ship. but then he can like unlatch it whenever he wants. So he flies out and drops himself into the sea, like off the coast, and swims to it because the ruins are like right at the front, so it's super hard to get to if he was in the academy. So he literally skydives out and investigates these ruins. These ruins are fucking crazy because they're voice activated, and he figures out it's the same thing that was said in the previous ruin, so he just repeats it. It opens. It's like this massive dome that seems to be built right into the side of the mountain, and it's like super smooth, like it looks like aliens made this shit, right? So it's pre-cataclysm stuff, obviously. And he finds a labyrinth down there that's an exact copy of the labyrinth that they train on. So already he's thinking, okay, maybe the kids are dying because they're coming to this labyrinth, because like, why do they even train in the labyrinth in the first place? But anyways, that's in a couple chapters later. So there's kind of like this body, like this animated body that's guiding him through and saying, oh, you have to make it through the labyrinth to get to the other side. And he's thinking, why can't you just walk across, right? And the guy's like, would you like me to demonstrate? He walks across, and this like amorphous form comes out of nowhere and just destroys him. It's actually like horrifying, before being replaced by another corpse to lead him through, and does the same thing. And he's like, okay, this is good information. Then we get this insanely badass scene of him running back to the same spot in the sea to try to catch the Transvect coming back, because you already see it. It's literally the Skyhook from like Dark Knight Rises, not Dark Knight Rises, first Dark Knight, where as it's flying by, he will locks the bracer and then it sucks him back up. But he drops it and he has to swim all the way down to the bottom of the ocean, almost fucking dies, and gets ripped back out of the water. Actually, such an insane scene. And when he gets back, one of the preceptors that's there, I think it's the one for his, not for his, it's the one above, Tadia, the fifth. She asks him if there's a guy named Faerun is with him, because this is like the last Transvect back. He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, sorry. Turns out this kid's dead. They're saying it's suicide. Very, very suspicious. But now, both Aiden and Calidus are saying, hey, congratulations, like, Dultatis can't keep you in 6 now, because now that a kid died in 5th, like, they have to move you up. Dultatis still refuses to say anything. Then Tadia comes out and says, like, just calls out Dultatis in front of everybody and says, who, like, you can't keep this kid back anymore. Who in 6 is better than him? He says Ionix. He's a crazy, like, strong duelist. And Tadia just looks at Viz, is like, can you beat him? Viz is like, no problem. So they set up a duel. Turns out this kid is like the youth champion of all of Caten in dueling. And Viz is so naive, he thinks it's going to be like a straight up fight, because in his idea, he's like, well, I used to fight in Lettons in the fucking Coliseum underneath there, like underground fighting. I'll fuck this kid up. Doesn't realize it's a mech fight. They're literally fighting with. I actually love this so much. The fact that he's James Islington is able to introduce this new fighting mechanic literally over the course of a chapter, and we understand it immediately, is brilliant. So they will lock themselves to this like armor that kind of fights in their place, and it's like when they move, the armor moves, and it's literally a mech fight. It's a mech fight in a fantasy novel. And he kind of gets, I will say this is maybe something I had a bit of a gripe about when I first read it. So both Aiden and Amisa decide to train him overnight, because this fight's happening tomorrow, and he's literally never used this before, this Emotus. So he trains all night. He finally beats Aiden, and then he never loses after that. And yeah, he obviously gets good enough in the course of a night to eventually beat Ionix, but it is a bit of a Mary Sue moment, Jerry Stew. For those wondering who don't know what that terminology means, it's essentially when a character just is instantly good at something, or instantly the best at something and is able to beat someone who's like way more experienced after like a couple nights of training, or that's what a Mary Sue is, like for the plot type thing. But I can give it a pass because even while they're fighting, Viz is saying like, I was practicing every fucking day from childhood military training because he was a prince. So like he does have all of this like instinct, this natural instinct, but so I can give it a pass. But I fucking love the mechanics of the mech fight because it's like the way that you use the mech to block their field of vision. You also can't do like stuff that you'd normally do in a fight. Like Viz says, like I can't jump behind someone and twist around because like then I'm not looking at the battlefield. So it kind of forces like a limited perspective, but it's just an interesting, really interesting type of fighting. The duel itself is super fucking amazing. Obviously they're cheating because even though Inex is really fucking good, Viz scores a hit on him, a clean hit, and then it just, what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to like if I hit your arm, essentially your arm, you can't use it anymore. And like the whole reason for this style of duel is so that people can fight each other without actually like hurting each other, killing each other. So they find out he's cheating midway through the match. Viz is like, what the fuck, I scored a hit. Even all the Preceptors are like, little suspicious. And Dultatis is like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then even like to test it, one of the Preceptors comes out, stabs his Emotus. But clearly Ionex is in on it, and he just like pretends like it's actually working. So, and then throughout the fight, Viz scores more hits, but he's realizing, holy shit, like it doesn't matter. I can't call it out again, because if I do, they're just going to throw the fight, and then like I'm just going to be stuck in 6. So, like, I just have to find a way to win no matter what. And he just fucking chucks his sword at him, grabs him, like, starts grappling, and just starts smashing his head over and over until he's unconscious. Gets up, takes his helmet, puts it right in front of Dultatis, puts his sword on it. His Emotus still doesn't fall, so it's, like, literally exposing him, saying, I know you're cheating, but I don't care. I fucking won anyway. Holy shit, that whole scene's bad. And then he just walks off, doing his cool guys don't look at explosions walk off. Looks at the Preceptor for 5th, just says, look forward to your class. Like, that was honestly such an amazing moment. Like, one of the better duels I've ever seen in a fantasy novel. Also, it's cool that Calidus shows up at the end to watch. And turns out he bet on Viz. He's the only person that he bet so much. He won so much money off of Viz winning. And this is a cool inversion of earlier in the book when Viz bets on himself when he's fighting in the underground boxing. And then he loses the bet because he wins instead of like lasting the certain amount of time. Calidus actually bets on him to win, and then he wins a bunch of money. So it's kind of a nice little... I really like that inversion. Within like a chapter, he blitzes through Class 5 and is already in Class 4. And Class 4 is clearly a huge jump because the Preceptor's sickness forces him to socialize. He's like, Viz, I know that you're clearly a super talented kid, but you don't get to just ignore people. Like, you have to socialize with your peers. Like, you have to. I don't give a shit. It's part of this, like, it's part of what we're doing here. And then, he says, like, you can't hang out with Calidus anymore, basically, because he's been having lunch or dinner with Calidus every day, even though he's a 7th. And Sictus just says, no, you can't do that. And I love this little scene with him and Iden, where Iden kind of scolds him for that. And Viz says, listen, man, like, I have to move up. I have to do what I can to move forward, even if it means, like, compromising. And Iden just goes... They ask something little of you, and you give up that little piece of yourself, and then slowly they mold you into them. And I'm like, that was such a bar. I absolutely love that. And then in this moment, he also opens up to Viz a little bit about his past, just a little bit, saying that he was in a sapper, and he killed 3 Praetorian guards, and that's why he literally got put in a sapper. And he managed to crawl his way out of there, essentially. And that also, Viridius was the one who told Iden to go after Calidus that day, that first day that Viz got there. essentially saying like Aiden, I guess, has a problem outside of the academy, and he's like, yeah, I can fix this problem for you if you just go and fuck this kid up, knowing full well Viz was with him. So it doesn't matter how nice or fucking charming Viridius is, like, he's playing fucking games, and Viz is constantly being used, and it's like, okay, like, now I see what you are. Class 4 also shows Viz the factions between the kids, because the kids from the certain families, or not families, the senatorial pyramid, so like the kids of religion hang out together, the military kids hang out together, the governance kids hang out together, like the cliques are much more prominent this higher up. And he notices that, and then at the end of this chapter, Indol, I believe it's Indol, one of the kids in class 3, invites Viz. He's like, what are you doing on the break? Like, do you want to come train with us? The thirds. Obviously, Viz has to accept, because that's exactly what Ulcisor would want. And he goes, yeah, cool. It's in a cute little place. You'll love it. It's on an island called Seuss. Holy fuck, Viz is like gonna have an existential crisis. And again, at first Viz tries to say, hey, like, that might be awkward because Iroh hates me, and he's like, it'll be military families only. Iroh is part of the governance family. So there's going to be, like, meetings with military on this island, too. But it's his homeland. So, yeah, he's going to have to deal with some fucking trauma. But then also, he has a nice little conversation with Calidus after this, where Calidus is actually thinking, what the hell is the labyrinth? Like, why are we training in this? Like, clearly it's obvious, like, it teaches you everything you need to know about will usage, but there's something more there. And Viz even gives him props, like, I thought I was smart, but I didn't even put that connection together until I saw the other labyrinth in the ruins. That's when I made that connection. But Calidus is making these connections by himself. Like, he's a fucking smart kid. And this is also where Calidus tells him, he basically warns him and is like, listen, there's a reason. The reason I don't want to advance is because every single year, every cycle, kids die from 4th and from 3rd. Every single cycle. Viz is like, this is impossible. People would notice. And he's like, no. Like, people get paid off. The families get paid off. Like, it's ruled off as suicide or whatever, or not as suicide, because it happens at the Eucidum, which is, like, I guess all the thirds at the end of the year, they do a little battle for who gets to be Domitor. So, and it's only them. So it just so happens that every year kids die, right? And it's like, extremely suspicious. And Viz even acknowledges, like, what Calidus is telling me right now, like, he could die for telling me this type of information, be disowned from his family. And he even asks Viz, like, hey man, who are you really? Like, I know you're fucking lying. Like, who are you? And he can't tell him, and it's fucking heartbreaking, because this idea that, like, Viz is actually making real friends there. Because Viz, as much as he hates the Caten Republic, understands that the people within it aren't necessarily bad people, even if they're part of a greater regime of evil, so to speak. But is it evil? I don't know. Like, we'll get there. But anyways, so he goes to this festival, this religious festival that I guess only the thirds and the fourths are allowed to go to. And this is where he meets up with Relucia, aka Sedocia. She wants him to spy on this meeting that's happening on the island that he gets invited to. And there's going to be basically, like, there's a main meeting, because he says, like, you're going to be there. Why do I need to spy for you? And she says, no. There's going to be a second meeting, a secret meeting with only the higher-ups, only the Cortus, the Tertius, and the Dimidus. And Dimidus is, like, the second in command. Not second in command, but, like, second highest ranking you can be. And she wants to know if this specific Dimidus does any decrees, because basically they're on the verge of civil war, and she knows they're weak right now, so she's trying to get as much information as possible. Also, Viz straight up calls her out. He's like, did you guys fucking kill that kid, Faryun? And she's like, yep. So that he could move up. And he's like, I don't want you doing that shit again. And she goes, you can't tell me what the fuck to do. Like, I own your ass. Like, you don't get to do that. And he goes, oh yeah? Well, what if I don't spy on this meeting for you? Like, I'm too useful. You can't kill me. And she's like, you're right. I can't kill you. But if you don't, I'll kill one of your fucking stupid little friends. Like, cold-blooded as hell. Doesn't give a shit. And he knows she means business. Because he follows her after this meeting to see where she goes and meets up with, like, another member of Angius. And there's just bare dead bodies, mashed up bodies. And this guy shows her his control of whatever this weapon they have. They have a way to counter will in some way. This, like, thrum effect. And, yeah, Viz sees that, and he's like, holy shit, like, this bitch means fucking business. And as if that is not enough, as he's walking away, he gets fucking jumped. Like, he gets run into an alley. Two will users start fucking his shit up. And Viz almost fights his way back to the main street, but he starts getting rolled. And before, like, he thinks he's gonna die, and then all of a sudden they stop. Sictus comes out, the fucking preceptor for the fourths. This was all a test, because Aqua, this girl that you thought was Viz's friend, was so jealous and just could not believe that this guy was like as smart or as strong as he was. She thought he was cheating. She thought he was a will user, because you're not allowed to use will at all on the island, and if you're caught, like, that's instant expulsion. So they sent these two goons after him to just try and trick him into using will. But obviously he doesn't have it. And he realizes in that moment, holy shit, Aqua, you piece of shit. Like, I thought we were fucking friends. Turns out you're just a jelly belly. Oh, man. And, so, after they get back to the island, Aqua is no longer the favorite, because Sictus is pissed. Sictus is like, you were sure. You know, you staked your rank on it. Well, guess what? Now Viz is the new top dog of the fucking academy. Or of the class, I should say. And right before the end of this part, we see that Viz kind of not eavesdrops, but sees Calidus and Belly, the other girl in 3 that he knows Calidus has a bit of a crush on. And he kind of sees them arguing in the distance, and he's like, well, I won't press about that. I'll learn about that later. And that's it. That's the end of part 2. And then hopefully, I think part 3 is going to start with them going to Seuss, going to this military meeting. So, yeah, I'm now super into this. I had my one complaint was I thought the pacing was a little slow, especially when it came to him being stuck in class 6. I thought that might have taken a little too long, but honestly, other than that, fucking, this is all heat. The plot development, like the duel, the fucking Sadosha reveal, like there's just so much going on here, and Viz is just being pulled in so many different directions. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how this shit wraps up, especially because, like, he's obviously gonna get into 3rd, and we're gonna see what happens at the Udicium. But yeah, I am super locked in right now. I'm gonna blitz through the rest of this book because I need to know what happens. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.